Everyone, thank you for those of you who are joining us today. This will be our last webinar for 2019, and today we've got Tomahawk along with us, so we'll get right into it. Now, throughout this process, there might be some people joining us last minute, so for those who might miss out some first parts, we will send out a copy of the recording in the next week or so. Right, so I'm just going to do a little introduction about STAAH, and then we'll get right over into what Tomahawk has got for us today. So a little bit about STAAH for those of you who might have not heard of us before or don't know what we do. We're recognised as an innovator in the hospitality technology solutions industry. All our products are cloud-based, and we've been around since 2008, so just over 11 years now. We work and provide over 9,000 properties in 90 countries with our technology, and that's growing on a daily basis. Everything that you see in orange is pretty much in all the countries that we are in now, and as I mentioned, that's growing daily and weekly and monthly. A little bit about the STAAH Eco System. So this is ranging from a couple of products that we have, from booking engine to gift voucher engine to reputation management to conversion boosters, booking engine, and right down to GDS that helps a lot of those properties that deal with a lot of corporate guests. Okay. So I'm just going to introduce you to Jenna from Tomahawk, and she will take you through Is Your Website 2020 Ready? Over to you, Jenna.
Thanks, Romeo. Congratulations, 9,090 in over 90 countries. That's amazing. That's amazing. So congrats. So thanks everybody who is listening live today, or if you're watching later on. Want to thank STAAH for inviting us so that we can talk to everybody about getting ready for the amazing new year ahead, which is 2020. So we haven't turned our camera on today because these pictures look better than we look today. So, but just so you can see who is speaking today, there's Romeo and there's myself. I'm the the marketing director over at Tomahawk. Tomahawk's a specialist tourism marketing agency, and our services are not in 90 countries yet, but who knows? And we're all about helping out anybody in the tourism industry, from a one-room B&B up to an RTO to an airline, and anybody that wants to grow their presence online. And we're very, very proud. Tomahawk in 2019 just became a premier partner of Google. So that's us, what we're going to learn together today. So we're going to look at your website in a couple points and see if you're 2020 ready. And not just your website, but what you're doing online. We're going to go through this quickly because today I'm only going to be talking for less than 30 minutes. And then we're going to have about 10 or 15 minutes of questions. So this is really about just giving you some insights on what you need to be aware of, and then let us know if you have any questions. At the end, we're going to pick, 5 lucky people?
5 lucky winners, yes.
5 lucky winners. Hopefully you think it's lucky. And that is that you can have a free 30-minute consultation with me about any things we've talked about today, or any questions you have about what's happening online. Back to that agenda. What I'm saying is it's not just about your website. We're going to look at also Google My Business, and 5 reasons why you really need to be across Google My Business in 2020. And on the 19th of May, 2019, everything changed in the way that we do business here at Tomahawk for our customers, and how travelers are changing differently. And you need to know about what happened on the 19th of May. So let's get right into it. One of the most important things that you need to know about your website for 2020 is the speed of your website. Humans officially have less of an attention span than goldfish. So when I used to speak 4 and 5 years ago, I used to say, well, at least we have a longer attention span than goldfish, but that's not true any longer. A goldfish has an attention span of 8 seconds. As humans, we are less than 7. And if you think about yourself, we're not talking about other people. We're talking about you and me and Romeo. We all are expecting things faster and faster. And Google knows that, and other search engines know that. So they want to make sure that your website is responding quickly when somebody goes to load it. So you will get a 53% abandon rate. That means more than half the people that come to your website will leave it if your website does not load in 3 seconds. This one's a little shocking. For every 1 second delay, so let's say that your website doesn't load for 6 seconds, well, you just lost almost 40% of potential conversions or bookings. And if you're part of a chain or you're part of a brand where you have people that want to come back and book with you more than once, over half the people say that a quick loading website keeps them coming back to a brand because they know they can look at it quickly and book it quickly. So how do you know if your website's up to speed or down to speed, I should actually say? So you can check your page speed now at this address. Now, you don't need to be fiddling right now and trying to open up a browser and type in that big URL there. You could just open up a browser and go Google test my site. Okay, so you could just say those words. So if anybody is feeling up to it, please go ahead and open another browser, type in, find that Google test my site. Put in your domain. For example, we would be www.tomahawk.co.nz and test your site. And this is also a really good opportunity for you to test if you know how to ask a question on this webinar. And in the lower right-hand corner, you will see something that says chat. Does it say chat or question?
Yeah, there'll be a chat option there as well, so you can put in.
Oh, yeah. So if anybody wants to brag that their site is loading in 3 seconds or less, feel free to do so. Otherwise, this is something that you can just make a note of, do later, or watch this webinar later to remind yourself how important it is. So let's say your site is not loading in that magic 3 seconds or less. What does it mean? There's 3 main things that will usually slow down a site. Number 1, you might not know what website hosting plan that you're on. If you're on a free plan, might not be fast enough, who knows? So check with your hosting company what option that you're on and if they have another one for you. Here's the thing, this is really hard for tourism operators to often hear. If your website is older than 3 to 4 years old, then chances are the CMS, which is the system, which is kind of like the chassis of the car, that drives your website or drives that car, it might be too old because things are changing quickly. Think about 3 years old in the tourism industry, right? Think about what's changed over these last 3 years. And so things are getting faster and faster and faster. So as a tourism operator, know in your budget that you need to be getting a new website every 3 to 4 years. The third most common thing is that as a tourism operator, we are selling an emotional purchase. Tourism is an emotional purchase. So you're trying to sell beautiful pictures of your room or beautiful pictures of the region where your property is. So we use a lot of pictures and we use a lot of video in tourism. And lots of times you're loading up images that are too big or videos that are too big and haven't been optimized. So we're giving you a few little free tools. So if your site is slow and you've got large pictures that aren't optimized, go ahead and jot down those 2 little tools and optimize those photos and reload them. Make sense? Cool. What's another thing that you need to make sure on your website is working for you? We talk about this a lot at Tomahawk in the sense that everything that you're doing online, you are pleasing two, I'm going to say people or two entities. Everything that you do online has to please the user, the person that's looking to possibly book with you, and please Google. Everything you do. Okay, 96% of all searches online are done with Google. Yes, there are Bing and other search engines, YouTube, but what we always talk about is Google. Google owns YouTube. So everything you do needs to please the user and needs to please Google. Now, when somebody comes to your website, is it easy for them to find what you offer? Is your sitemap? A sitemap is like that top line navigation. It's usually, accommodation, about us, packages, contact us. Those are all top line navigation, which we call a sitemap. If you don't have a good sitemap, good and easy navigation, then A, Google's not sure what you're about, and B, you are not taking a user to your website in the pathway or down the funnel or the conversion-centric way that you want them to get there. So a bad sitemap is like a sign with no labels. Potential customers and Google will get lost on your site. So really, really important, look at your website. Do you have more than 7 top-line navigation points? If you do, you're overwhelming the user. They're not going to know where to go or what to do. And an example that I like to use a lot is when you go to a restaurant, and let's say you sit down at the restaurant and they hand you a menu, and it's a really big menu, right? And it's like, we've got these 40 appetizers and these 50 entrees and these 60 desserts. When you first go there, you're like, whoa, look at all this stuff. But when you have to make a decision on what you want to order, you're too overwhelmed. So keep it simple. Keep it simple, get them down the funnel, have a great sitemap. So just as an example, this is Tomahawk website, right? We sell services, we sell product. Here's some of our work. There's 7 or less. And always make sure that you've got an easy way to people to contact you. Book Now needs to be everywhere, every page. Make sure that people can book you, but also have a contact us. So here we go. It's just keep the choices simple and keep the SEO up to date. Keep your search engine optimization up to date. So why SEO and what is SEO? I know a lot of you who are listening, you already know what this is. But lots of times in these webinars or when we go to boot camps or training or workshops, it's all about being reminded because we get so busy in our day-to-day doing that we forget some of the stuff that drives our business. And search engine optimization is one of the things that drives your business because this is how people find you when they're doing a search. When you have a website, it is nothing but this lousy looking billboard. Your sites aren't lousy. I'm sure your websites aren't lousy looking, but it is nothing but a billboard out in the desert, okay? That's all you've got. You have a website that's sitting out there in the internet somewhere. What you have to do is get that billboard next to Spaghetti Junction in Auckland or, a busy motorway in LA or, in some square in London where it's really busy, where everybody can see it. And the way that you do that is with SEO, search engine optimization. It's the science behind increasing quality or free or what is called organic traffic to your website. And this big old colorful picture on the right-hand side are all the different things that you could be doing for SEO, okay? You can be doing your social media that you do helps with your SEO. All the different content you have on your site. The 3 main ingredients of SEO are these here. It's keyword research, it's meta tags and links to your site, and lots of great, genuine, fresh content. The thing about keyword research, Lots of people, when they do their own SEO, look at search engine optimization is not a black science. It's really something when you come to grips with it that you can do if you enjoy it and if you create time for it. The problem that some people get into when they do DIY SEO, that was kind of tricky to say, is that they think like themselves instead of doing keyword research to understand what the traveler is using, how they think and what keywords they use. Because you're so close to the business, you try and drive traffic to the website with the words you use. But that would be, as you can tell by my accent, I'm originally from America. And in America, it's a big country, and we talk completely different. If you're down in New Orleans, you don't only just talk with an accent, you also use different words. So if you're gonna go after people in one part of America, you have to use different words than if you were talking to somebody in California where I'm from. And there's different spellings. So it's really important that you do keyword research to learn what words should be used for the markets you want. Want to learn how to do it? Great. Go to Mr. Google or Mrs. Google and type in Google free keyword research tool and go for it. Meta tags we're going to talk about next, and links. Hopefully everybody listening and watching has a listing on Tourism New Zealand's website. It's free, and on there you can have a link from Tourism New Zealand's website to your website. And that's a link. It's kind of like a referee or a reference on your CV saying, yes, you're in New Zealand, and yes, you're in tourism, and yeah, you're a good person, right? So that's what links are. And genuine fresh content. You need to have pages on your website about the region that you're in. People choose a destination, an accommodation, an activity, usually in those orders. So make sure that you've got lots of content about your region and the things there are to do in your area. Now, we talked about meta tags really quickly, and these are what meta tags are. Again, you probably know this, but let's just do a refresher. There are meta titles and meta descriptions. So when somebody does a Google search and types in the words, these are the little blue or purple, if you're colorblind, words that come up. That's a meta title. And those you have to keep to a certain number of characters. And those are just that little clue or hint to both Google and the user what that page is about. Underneath that, meta description. Again, you have to keep to a certain number of characters. And I'm not telling you what they are because I've just forgotten this moment. If you get a consult with us, you can ask us, or you can just Google character limit for meta title and meta description. Sorry about that. So each page on your website needs a meta title, a meta description. And if you have pictures on each page of your website, which I really hope you do, we always recommend it. We're selling tourism. It's an emotional purchase. A picture speaks 1,000 words. A video speaks 1,000 pictures. So make sure you've got a picture or a video on every page. Google can't read that, so you have to do another little clue, which is called an alt tag, A-L-T tag. So those are the little clues so that you can tell Google. And those are the little clues that when somebody's doing a Google search, you probably are using these, you don't even know what they were, or a lot of you do know what they are. So here's the other thing that's going to be huge in 2020. It's already big now. Okay? And that is voice search optimization. It's here, okay? So this is people using Siri on their phone. This is people using their Alexa or their Google Home. We're getting lazier day by day, and we're making, it's called do it for me marketing. And that do it for me marketing is all done by voice, right? Tell me someplace with a room available near me. Tell me someplace that has a king bed on Saturday on Waiheke. Those are all things because we're lazy. Maybe we're in the car, maybe we're cooking and we say, hey, Google, and we ask Google to tell us. 40 billion by 2022, you guys, 40 billion in sales by 2022. The interesting part about voice search is that most of them, so that's 20%, is triggered by a set of 25 keywords. And here's some of them. And they make sense, right? How to, what is the best, where, top hotel in Takapuna. You can see some of those words on the right-hand side and the count. So it's really interesting. The difference between optimizing for desktop or mobile as opposed to voice search is that when somebody is doing a search on desktop, they're typing, right? And so you might only use 4 to 5, usually maximum 7 words, right? Room with view in Auckland with king bed. But if you're using a voice search, you're using more words. So voice search is about using some of those 25 keywords and more longer phrases. So you're going to need to be aware. Voice search optimization in 2020, do it yourself, talk to your agency, it's happening. So this is the point where we would say to you, there are 9 little tick boxes to run through really quickly. And again, you can always watch this webinar later or look at this page later. This is how you know if you're ready for if your website's ready for 2020. Is your site easy to navigate? That's that 7 top line navigations or less. Are you doing SEO on your site? If so, give yourself a point. If you're already doing voice search optimization, give yourself another point. Do you have a blog or multiple content pages on your site about your region? Does your site have large, quick loading, emotive imagery on every page? Can somebody book on every page of your website? Can your site be viewed on every device size? Don't talk to me just about mobile phone. 68 million Americans have smart TVs. Those are TVs, they're 68 inches big because people are planning their travels together, sitting on the couch using the TV. So can it be viewed on every device size? Do you have a Google Map for directions? Do you have a Google Map on your website? We're all using Google Maps now to get to places, right? Do you have reviews to give people confidence? And up by your URL, does it say HTTP or does it say HTTPS? It might just have a padlock. If it just has a padlock, then you are secure. If your site says HTTP, get in touch with STAAH and Tomahawk and get that sorted quickly, because that means that your site is not considered secure by Google. So add yourself up. We would love to hear from anybody what your count is. Do you have 9? Do you have 10? Do you have 5? Do you have 4? Keep it to yourself, but there's your little report card. I have to start talking quickly because I'm already talking too long. All right, so that's about your website. What else do you need to know for 2020 for your business? I'm going to give you 5 quick reasons why you have to pay attention to Google My Business. If you want to learn more about why Google My Business is so important, we are hosting a webinar next week with TIA, Tourism Industry Aotearoa, and we're doing a full webinar all about Google My Business. This is just going to be a really quick, high-level one. So what is Google My Business? Basically, it's your digital storefront. You got your website and you got Google My Business. There's lots of forums that are talking about how Google My Business is going to take over even websites. We'll watch that space, but it is a few years if that's even going to become a reality. But Google My Business is your digital storefront. When somebody goes and does a Google search for the name of your business, yeah, that is what comes up on the right-hand side of the page. Google My Business feeds all of these different parts of the Google toys. Google My Business helps to boost your SEO, your search engine optimization, boost your ranking that we were just talking about, right? So it also is the backbone for Google Maps, and it is the backbone for Google Trips, or google.com/travel, which we're going to talk about. Here's the 5 reasons why you've got to be aware of what's happening. It is where you show up in searches. So if somebody in this case was looking for kayaks, these 3-packs, Google's not fit enough to have a 6-pack yet. Google's only showing a 3-pack right now. These are not website links. These 3 companies are showing up because their Google My Business listing is optimized. It means that you will show up on Google Maps. People do searches within Maps itself. Again, these are not website links. When people are searching for your company by name, like I said previously, you're going to be able to show up. Remember, this is basically Google doing social media, you guys. See how on there it says suggest and edit? Anybody can suggest and edit. See where it says questions and answers? Anybody can ask a question of your business, and here's the trick. Anybody can answer it. So you have got to be across your Google My Business to know what people are saying and asking about your business. And the 4th reason why, get more of everything. On that left-hand side is an empty listing, which some people probably have because they haven't optimized their Google My Business. And on the other side is a complete listing. A complete listing gets 4 more clicks, right? You've got a 29%, almost 30% more likely to lead to a purchase. You've got to be across your Google My Business. There's a really, really easy way to do this, really easy way. And that is to grab your mobile phone, go to your app store and download the free app for Google My Business. It means that you can get notifications, just like you get notifications when you get a Facebook post or an Instagram post. You can get notifications that you got a Google My Business question or notification. It means you can take a picture from your phone and post it directly to your Google My Business, right? So get onto Google My Business on your phone. Now, the 5th reason, because remember we said there's 5 reasons why you need to be across Google My Business, and that's Google Travel. Sometimes it's called Google Trips, as you can see that big word right there, google.com/travel. It is fed by Google My Business, okay? And that is what the last part of today's webinar is about. For these last couple of minutes, the birth of google.com/travel on the 19th of May changed the way that we work at Tomahawk promoting businesses and the way that we talk about Google. And that's because it's changing the way we all travel and the way people travel. When people do a search, it will bring up the different listings. When people book a flight, it'll start showing you. So if you go and do like flight from, let's say, Queenstown to Auckland, that little gray box that comes in where you can type in the dates, that's not Air New Zealand or Jetstar, that's Google Flights. So they're actually prompting you to use Google Flights first. And as soon as Google knows you're looking for flights on those dates, they will start feeding you information about what there is to do. This is a recent search I did for a flight to Melbourne. As you see, they start feeding me ideas on what I should or could do in Melbourne. And this is all through Google My Business, which is the backbone of Google Travel. All right? Google is integrating their search, their maps, and trips so it all feeds into each other. If you search for a restaurant, a hotel, or anything in another city, Google's going to remember and start populating your searches and your trip desktop with those services. Travelers can also start manually adding any reservations to their trip. So Google's going to start owning that online space, and people are going to start walking down their street, and Google's going to start telling them who's got a booking at this rafting company or who's got a room at this hotel. And just to re-emphasize, why this is such a big deal and on why we're talking about it so much. Thinking again about that date, the 19th of May is when this was launched. In 1 quarter, both Expedia and TripAdvisor, both CEOs had to report to their boards their last quarter's report. This is an amazing Skift article that just came out. TripAdvisor lost 12% in 1 quarter, and they put it all down to the launch of Google Travel. Both TripAdvisor and Expedia acknowledge that organic, those free listings, are ending up further down the page because Google is prioritizing its own travel business. Expedia CEO Mark is amazing, and he's saying more revenue per visitor. I think it's just the reality of where the world is in the internet and the importance of Google at the top end of the funnel. So these are giant people who control a lot of travel, and they're losing money in 1 quarter. So that's really why I wanted to keep talking about Google Travel today, and Google My Business, which feeds it. So Romeo, that's me talking pretty nonstop there for a half an hour.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gina. So for everyone who might have some questions from now on, there'll be an option there for a chat. So I'm just going to come back here. So I can see we've got some people on chat already. Some people have got some great sites. So anyone who has any questions, feel free to put them through the chat. We can see some people have got some really, really good speeds on their sites. But I guess anyone who has questions right now, please feel free to ask them.
And hey, those people that are just in those 3.2, 3.8 second load times, that actually just means just optimize some of those images. That's probably a quick thing that you can do to get that speed lower quite quickly. So it means that you got a solid site. Just a little bit of love is needed.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please do put them through the chat. Otherwise, we will shortly finish this webinar. Now, we have got a couple of questions coming through.
How can we join next week's Tomahawk webinar? Absolutely. So it's a TIA. It's put on by TIA, the Tourism Industry Aotearoa. If you aren't a member and have received the invite from them, you can contact Tomahawk. Get in touch at Tomahawk. We can send you the invite because we are allowed to share it with the rest of the industry. It is free to everybody and anybody. So yes, please get onto that.
Oh, when is it?
Oh, when is the webinar? Oh, goodness. I believe it's next Tuesday. Ooh, I really hope it is. I believe it's next Tuesday at 11.
Okay, cool. I've got another question here. Your thoughts about building an app for 5-room B&B? It really depends, but usually building an app does require quite a bit of financial backing and actually getting it out there. The one thing you got to remember with an app is you got to make it work on both iOS and Android, and you need to make it a really good app for actually people to download it. So. And
what I would add to that, Romeo, is why do you want an app, to be perfectly honest? What's happening is more and more people are actually deleting apps unless it's something that they use on a routine basis. So like if you fly on Air New Zealand a lot, you'll leave the app on, or if you book on booking.com, if you provide a service where you want to add a lot of, if you provide something where you provide a lot of service that's going to propel somebody to use the app, then yes, but it's not a cheap exercise.
I guess the answer here, another question here, because everyone is booking on OTA apps, Yeah, unfortunately, the OTA apps are here to stay. I think they're not going to go anywhere.
And the other thing is that Booking.com and Expedia, these guys spend $68 billion, that was a billion, to promote their businesses and their apps and get your bookings. So it's pretty hard to try to win over them with an app. Is that a fair comment?
I would say so, yeah. It's very hard. Because the one thing is, if I am a booker on Booking.com, for example, and I was going to go to the Booking.com app, it's going to give me multiple properties that I could potentially book. If you have an app for the likes of Accor, for example, they have an app, but you got to remember Accor is a worldwide massive hotel chain.
Yeah.
So for them, it actually makes sense to have an app because there'll be those customers that are always booking with Accor and they want to be on an app.
Yeah. I would never suggest an app as a book direct strategy. A book direct strategy to try and move bookings from a booking engine to your website. There's a lot of other things that you can be doing, but in my humble opinion, that wouldn't be one of the
I think one of the things from one of my previous webinars I've done this year is some of the research I've done. 60% of people actually that book on OTAs have actually looked at the property's website itself. And again, it comes back to a number of reasons. Was the website user-friendly enough? Was it fast enough? Was it giving the potential booker the information they were looking for? And those are the things you got to ask yourself, is your website actually delivering that? Because if it isn't, then this is where you'd be losing out on those direct conversions.
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about book direct strategies all day. That's another webinar. That's another webinar and a really good one. So Romeo, maybe that's one that we can do in 2020.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so I mean, if there's no other further questions, we will, I'm just going to go through the last couple of slides, which will be just to sort of wrap up for today. So don't forget to check out blog.staah.com. That is also where we are publishing our webinars as well as on our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram as well. So we're everywhere you would think in terms of social media. Anyway, from us and from Tomahawk, we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2020.
And here's to a profitable silly season to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in touch, my contact details are just up on the screen there. There's my email address if you want to jot that down, or my phone number. And so I look after the New Zealand market. So if anyone from New Zealand wants to reach out to me, they can. And not least, but for the last thing of the day is we mentioned at the beginning, we have some winners for a free consultation session with Gina and Tomahawk. So I'm just going to read out the winners that we've got here. And I will touch base with them as we go ahead. So I've got Sam Voisin from the Old Country House is our first winner. We've got Charlene Boniface at the Airport Palms Motel in Christchurch. I've got Shirley Eyre at the Grange Motel in Auckland. I've got Candice Donovan at Nelson Lodge. And I've got Lucky Clark at Royal Woods in Australia. So I'll be in touch with those winners, and Gina will be in touch with you to arrange a time that's suitable for you for your free session. Anyway, from us, have a lovely afternoon, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks everyone for joining.